Hello, this is the Buffalo Trace Old Taylor tour. We've done this tour on Labor Day, so some of the distillery is shut down. We have filmed this tour almost in its entirety, so spoilers ahead if you're planning on going yourself.
Are the meeting areas for the tours?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jimmy. I'm going to be your tour guide today. So those of you that I scanned, how many of you are doing more than one tour? If you're doing more than one tour, being as you scan for the E.H. Taylor tour, that is your tasting. Our policy is one tasting per guest per day. But this is going to be a tasting I think you're going to like. We're going to kind of change this. We're going to go from different parts of the distillery on the Taylor tour. And each stop that we make, we're going to taste a different E.H. Taylor product. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty hard to find, pretty hard to get. So we hope that you enjoy this process. I want to welcome y'all to Buffalo Trace. How many of y'all first time here? All right, welcome. How many of you first time to Kentucky? All right. How many of you first time to the United States?
No, we've been
Okay, where are you from?
Australia and then London.
Okay. Okay, I was in London and about 6 weeks ago, and then on to Scotland. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So our distillery, a little bit about who we are. But before we go any further, my main job today is your safety above all. So please watch your step at all times. If we have any inherent hazards, I don't think we will. But just please be careful, watch out for each other. Before we go any further, again, I served a lot of my life in an environment where I was exposed to a lot of loud noises. And as a result, I've lost a lot of hearing. So if I misunderstand a question or a comment, it's not because I'm trying to be a wise guy, it's I just didn't hear you clearly. That's the issue. Enough said. So we are a family-owned, American-owned distillery of a company called Sazerac, Buffalo in 1992. And in 1999, we changed the name to the Buffalo Trace Distillery. We named it after the Buffalo Trails that the settlers followed from east going west to take advantage of the free land. And they called those trails the Buffalo Trace. And this is the great Buffalo Trace, the big one that the small ones channeled into. So that's how we got the name. We're the oldest continually operating distillery in the United States. And I know history is relative if you're from Europe or Asia. If we talk about something that goes back 300 years, and we go, big deal, 300 years. The house that I live in is 300 years old. But by American history, that's pretty old. And we're still a very young country. So we ask you, please, no smoking or vaping. We don't want to do that because vaping, like smoke and fire, is kind of a real problem. We'll talk about fire that happened on this tour in just a little bit. So ask questions. I'm no bourbon expert, that I assure you, but my pledge to you and every tour that I do is to give you most accurate, honest information as I know it to be. If I don't know the answer to your question, I will say I don't know, and we'll try to figure out a way to find you an answer before you leave today. I think that's pretty much covered all the basics. So we're going to step outside and start out with the tour. Again, welcome to Buffalo Trace, welcome to Kentucky, and welcome to the United States.
Thank you.
On the Taylor tour, right? Everybody. The reason we do this, people that if you can't watch everybody every second, you just look up and you got somebody had joined the tour. And we try to keep it as precise as possible. So we are standing in what would be the Great Buffalo Trace if we went back several thousand years. So around 1786 or so, two brothers, Hancock and Willis Lee, followed one of those Buffalo Traces to the big bend in the Kentucky River, and we're going to get a really good view of the river. And they established a community called Leestown, Virginia. And we've been making whiskey ever since. We've been making whiskey nonstop since 1786 or so. As a result of that, we make more bourbon whiskey in Kentucky than any other state in the Union. And Kentucky still makes 95% of all the bourbon whiskey made in the United States. 95%, that's a lot. Have you ever heard that bourbon has to be made in Kentucky? You don't hear it as much as you used to, but 50 years ago, it was almost a given that if it was bourbon whiskey, it was made in Kentucky. That is not the case, but you do have to make it somewhere in Kentucky very quickly, just to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music. Bourbon is a whiskey, one of many. just like cheddar cheese is one of many types of cheeses. Bourbon must be made in the United States, nowhere else. It has to be at least 51% or more corn. It has to age in a brand new charred oak barrel. Any oak, any type of oak will do. That can only be used once for bourbon. And then we send it to England, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, the Caribbean, everywhere in the world they'll put different products in. Once we start cooking down the grain, usually 3-grain recipe, we'll stay with Buffalo Trace recipe, mash bill we call it, corn rye and malted barley, cooked down with water till it looks and kind of tastes like grandma's sweet cornbread batter, kind of like loose batter. And we put that now into a big tank with yeast, and that will start the process of fermentation, creating heat, carbon dioxide, and alcohol. After roughly 5 days or so, the alcohol level will come up to about 8%, killing the yeast, stopping the process. And now we call that distiller's beer. We'll transfer that into a still, and all stills do the same thing. Within a copper environment, we will create an alcohol-rich vapor or steam. It will rise, it will be recondensed into a liquid, and just as your air conditioner drips water on a hot, muggy day, what comes out of the still is what we call White Dog, or new whiskey. In order to be a bourbon, that White Dog can't be over 160 proof, no additives, colors, or flavors, and then when we put it into the barrel, the White Dog can't be over 125 proof. That's 62.5% alcohol. Divide proof by 2 gives you alcohol. Into the barrel at no less than 80 proof. And if you do all that and you bottle your product after we age it at 80 proof or more, it is now officially a bourbon. If you age it for 2 years or more, you may call it a straight bourbon. If you age it for 4 years or more and bottle it at precisely 100 proof, you now can call it a bottled in bond or a bonded bourbon whiskey. Everybody got that? There's going to be a test at the end, okay? All right, here we go. I just want to make sure everybody was on the same sheet of music. So off to the left, we're going to see the Albert Blanton Arboretum, Class B Arboretum. It's absolutely beautiful over there. So at the end of the tour, if you want to take a little stroll through there, help yourself. But we ask you not to go into any of the buildings, but you can stroll around. It's just really a pretty place up there. So this is the Elmer T. Lee Clubhouse. Elmer T. Lee is one of our bourbon legends, along with Albert Blanton, and we're converting this into a restaurant. So next year we'll have lunch late on, and maybe go in there and have a cocktail. So it's really going to be a nice venue for our guests. All right, today is Labor Day, and I am laboring, and we're kind of shut down today. It is an official holiday. So we're going to take a look at one of our still houses, and the closer we get to the river, the more we're going to start to concentrate on the life and times of E.H. Taylor and the Taylor family. So this is our new still house. We call it Still House B. We cut the ribbon on in 2022. We just basically duplicated what Albert Blanton did around 1937 post-Prohibition. Now, during 1919 to 1933, the United States went through a weird social experiment called Prohibition. I don't know if any other country had ever done it. But for those 13 years, the sale and purchase of alcohol was strictly illegal. Unless you were one of the distilleries like us, very few of them, that stayed open to make medicinal whiskey. And with certain ailments, you could get 1 pint of 100 proof whiskey, and you could renew your prescription every 10 days. That's how we stayed open. And Albert Blanton brought us through those terrible years. Albert Blanton worked here for 55 years, started here when he was about 14 years old in 1897. So he lived a very full life. And we'll show you this new still, and it is a beautiful apparatus. But again, we're giving it a day off. This thing, there are 2 stills, column still, pot still. We distill twice. So in full operation, smell that? Smell that aroma? This still can produce 60,000 gallons of new whiskey a day. That's pretty impressive. More impressive to me, the old one down here that was built by Blanton back in the 30s, produced 60,000 gallons a day in the 1930s. So obviously I'm no mathematician, but if we crank both of these bad boys up, we can produce 120,000 gallons a day. That's unbelievable. And then we have to have more barrels to put it in, and then we have to have more warehouses to put it in, and then we have to have a distribution center, a bottling hall, more water, more energy, and the price tag on all this new expansion that we've been going through the last 7 years, the price tag rolled in at $1.2 billion, $1,000 million and change just here. Plus Sazerac has distilleries in different countries all around the world, and Bardstown, Kentucky. All right, we're getting really close to the river. So our first tasting is going to be in a building called the Old Taylor House, and we'll talk about the history of it. It's the oldest building on the property. It was built in 1792, the same year that Kentucky joined the Union as the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We were part of Virginia prior to that. So we'll talk briefly about what goes on down here. This is kind of the industrial phase of it. From the corner of this building back was the Blanton expansion. He really wanted to get into bourbon on an industrial level. So the look of it changed. Now, E.H. Taylor learned to make whiskey when he left the United States. And he went to Scotland for a couple of years. And some of the architecture of the old OFC, Old Fire Copper Distillery of Taylor's, is still with us today. So you can see some of that beautiful stonework. We're going to go through there in detail in just a bit. So let's step inside the the Old Taylor House, where we're going to have our first sample. Now, Commodore Richard Taylor was the first occupant of this. We used to call it the Riverside House, strangely because it's beside the river. We'll get you up here so you don't go blind. Get you a little shade on your eyes. So when the house was built in 1792, there was only one level and only one door. The second door, this door was added on later in the history of the house, and along with the second level. Now, Commodore Richard Taylor was an engineer tasked by the United States government to survey the Kentucky River to see if it was going to be suitable for navigation. I don't care where you go in the world, water, rivers, lifeblood of civilization. I don't care if you're in Egypt or Frankfort, Kentucky. We have to have the water from the rivers. And he found out that the river could be navigated, but within limits. It's a very shallow river, as we're going to see in just a minute. And back in those days, the 1700s, they used flatboats, and they didn't draft very deep at all. So everything worked fine until we started getting barges and heavier vessels coming in with coal and grain to come into places like this. So the Corps of Engineers added a lock system and kind of turned it into the Kentucky River in kind of a miniature Panama Canal. And over time, the rail kind of put the river out of business, and then interstate highway system kind of put that out of business. So most of our supplies now come in by tractor trailer. So I don't want to sound bossy, but we're going to ask you when you go into the house, don't rub the walls or feel the texture. We'll tell you exactly why. And it may freak you out when we tell you. But look around the house a little bit, and it's a really neat old house. And when I first started working here about 10 years ago, it was in a state of disrepair. We are a National Historic Landmark, so we're really trying hard to preserve everything. So just look around, and the reason why we don't want you to feel the textures and things like that, especially over here, excuse me. If you look in the corners of the house where fewer people go and put your light that you've got on your phone into these corners, you're going to see hair coming out of the walls. It's going to freak people out. That's really weird. It's horsehair, and that's how they would bind the mortar together back in the old days. So let me get a sample bottle. I'm sorry?
Will you repeat that? Why is there horsehair?
To hold the mortar together. It was pretty crude back in those days.
Okay, now I really want to touch it, though.
You can't.
Killing me.
Do you know MC Hammer?
Yeah.
Can't touch this. Dun 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 dun. Can't touch this. Well, you can look at it right over here in the corner. Here's a really hairy spot right down here. All right. Different personalities here, different types of wallpaper. So if you will, I'm going to pour you a little sample here. All right, so this is our E.H. Taylor small batch. Everything that E.H. Taylor did was almost to perfection. So this is the way he bottled it. I mean, it's just a beautiful presentation. This is a bottle and bond bourbon whiskey. It is 100 proof, obviously. It's bottled and bond, it has to be. It's around six and a half years old or so. And the recipe is corn rye and malted barley. The more rye you put in a whiskey, the spicier it's going to be. So the presentation is beautiful, so I'm going to pour a little sample. And as you're enjoying those...
You said you filled those up, right? Only on Labor Day, sir.
Your cup does not runneth over. See, you thought I was some old country boy. Don't let this accent fool you.
No touching the walls, no getting a full collection.
I used to be a drill sergeant. That's my nature.
Actually, that,
You figure that one out?
I was going to goose you when you poured.
No. Come on up and take your sample, swirl it around, and enjoy it. Smell it.
Yes, I will. Good eye.
It's a lovely, lovely bourbon whiskey. And we make several versions of the Taylor, as we said before. So this one ages, obviously, in a brand new charred oak barrel. The longer you age a bourbon, the more we lose to evaporation. So this one's in that 6.5, 7 year category, 100 proof. Now the Bottle and Bond Act was the first food and beverage regulation in the United States. And what it did was it helped distillers to produce more product and save them a little bit of money. Prior to the Bottle and Bond Act, the United States government, as I understand it, would charge all distillers tax on 53 gallons. But if you age bourbon a long time, and some people says it gets better with a little bit of age anyway, you lose some to evaporation. So the volume goes down, down, down. So if you want to age it for 5 years, you've probably lost 25%, 20% maybe not, yeah, probably 20% to evaporation, but the distillers were being charged for a whole barrel. So they were actually paying tax on vapor, which they thought was unfair, and probably so would I. It's like filling up your gas tank, and they're going to charge you for what's the vapor. You can see the vapor on a hot day coming out. They're going to charge you for that too. So what they did, they worked with the United States government and passed the Bottle and Bond Act 1897. And this was the deal from the government. If you age the bourbon for at least 4 years, it's going to have a good age on it. You're going to produce a good bourbon. And we want something that's high proof, a good quality bourbon. It's going to have to be 100 proof exactly. And the distillery that makes it first and puts it in the warehouse has to maintain control of those barrels in the warehouse for one full distillation year. And probably more importantly to the United States government, the distillery had to have the warehouse insured or bonded. In case there's some type of catastrophic loss and everything burned down, the government wanted to make sure that they got their money. So they'd go to a bank, a holding company, a bonding agent or something, and they say, okay, there's a bond on all that whiskey, and if anything happens to it, Uncle Sam, you will get your money. So that was what was called the Bottle and Bond Act. Quite possibly could have saved the bourbon industry here in Kentucky because some of the quality of the bourbon was hideous. They would put, coffee grounds and tea bags to make it look older than it really was. And the quality was not there, and the industry was tanking. So the Bottle and Bond Act possibly could have saved the bourbon industry. Anybody have any questions? I hope you're enjoying your E.H. Taylor. All right, everybody good?
You got some more?
Right. More. Oh, there's still, look, Jimmy, you still got a whole lot left. Well, we got some other tours. Y'all look around a little bit, and I'll put this away, and we'll continue on.
Put the empties over here.
Sir? Yes, if you would. Sometimes people like to keep those little cups. You can do what you want to with them. Now let's talk a little bit more about the house. the picture that you see right over here is a very unique photograph. It was taken in 1870, 5 years after the American Civil War, a dark, ugly period in American history. So it's very unique in a lot of ways, culturally, a lot of cultural and racial diversity in that photograph. You have black men, white men, Europeans, maybe some Scottish, some Irish folks here. But the thing about it makes it unique. That was during the E.H. Taylor years, and E.H. Taylor really did not care what your background was. Now, Kentucky was a slave-holding state during the Civil War. Not a lot of people know that. Horrible thing, not anything to be proud of. But we were a slave-holding state, but yet we did not leave the Union, nor did we join the Confederacy, obviously. Kentucky, Missouri, Maryland, and Delaware were the ones that they called the border states. And it's very unusual, especially this far south, to have a photograph like that taken with everybody together. Background, racial aside, but that was E.H. Taylor. And it's really a neat photograph. Still, I think it's one of the best pictures that we have on the property. What makes it very unique to maybe you as well as to me, that photograph was taken right in front of the door that you and I just walked in.
That's pretty cool.
1870. All right, guys, if you'll go on back, I'll be right with you. I got to put these away. All right.
What's in the time capsule?
I don't know. It went in there a long time ago. I wasn't here for the groundbreaking, so I really don't know what it is. Probably a bottle of bourbon or two, maybe some coins. Maybe I really don't know. And like I say,
Barrel woods, maybe.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody knows. It's probably locked away. And I think they put it in there when they finished the preservation on the house.
When they're hoping to open it, or they're just going to leave it for...
Oh, I'm sure they may have a 100-year mark on it or something like that. Well, I tell you what, this distillery has changed so much just in the 10 or 11 years that I've been here. Just from the building itself, the whole concept of how we do business. When I first started here, I've always worked on Mondays and Tuesdays. Brutal work schedule, 2 days a week. I don't know how I do it. But anyway, more than one time, there was like 3 tour guides. 3. Now there's like 75 of us, and we would work Monday and Tuesday, and not one guest would step foot on this property for a tour. Not one. Maybe if you would come in, buy a bottle of bourbon cream or something like that, but that just tells you how much the bourbon industry has exploded in the United States, and not only the United States, but the world. Incredible. All right, let's go. We're going to go back in time, or go forward. So from 1792, let's quantum leap into 1869. Now that was our E.H. Taylor small batch. A small batch simply is more than one barrel, roughly the same age, exactly the same grain recipe or mash bill, mixed together until we come up with the flavor that we want, and we stop adding barrels. Then we will proof it to where we want it, and we will bottle it. A small batch, there's no industry standard on it. Basically, anything more than one barrel could be considered a small batch. More than one, and that's the best I got. Could it be 500? Yep, if that's what you want to call a small batch. Could it be 1,200? Yep, if that's what you want to call a small batch. Could it be 3? Yep, you get the picture. All right.
What about 4?
I'm sorry?
What about 4?
Yeah, that's, no.
Yeah.
He got it.
Can we touch the walls in here?
With one finger. Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
Is a lot of the, I know that like it's a little generally it's a working site, so it's going to be dirty and dusty anyway. But there's like a fine layer. Is that left over from the flood?
There could be. This was all underwater. This was where we are right now was underwater 4 months ago. Where you got your wristband, the little wristband that we scan, in that building, the water was 10 feet deep. We're going to show you high water marks here in just a minute. So, welcome to what we call Kentucky's Bourbon Pompeii. The reason we call it that. This is where E.H. Taylor and George T. Stagg did business in the 1800s. This is what the distillery looked like during the E.H. Taylor years. Looks like an Ivy League campus.
It does.
But over fire, flood, war, Civil War, world wars, fires, floods, all kinds of devastation, and probably more than anything else, economic setbacks, the Great Depression, the war years. Money to keep it looking like that just wasn't available. So the look of the distillery changed out of necessity just to keep us afloat. And sometimes your architecture or something beautiful, like I always use the fountain. If it started falling apart and somebody came in, the engineer said, well, it's going to cost $8,000 to do that. $8,000 at the turn of the century was a fortune, and there was not $8,000 to fix a fountain, so it went away. And not that Blanton or any of the other distillers were bad people. They had to keep the place afloat. And we're one of the few distilleries that survived Prohibition here in Kentucky. The oldest continually operated distillery in the United States. So this is what we call the OFC distillery. And if we would go back about 10 years now, what you see there, you wouldn't see because it was buried in an 8-inch cap of concrete. What looks like here, looked like there. Albert Blanton, when he came in to use the building after Prohibition, he was going around looking at the buildings, and one thing or another, he said, well, this is fine, I can use it, but it's too antiquated for me. I'm going to build bigger fermentation tanks, bigger stills. I'm an industrial distiller. So he filled all this in and sealed it away, and it was sealed away for something like 70, 75 years. And when we started to do some preservation work and saving the wall that was compromised by one of the many floods we've had, we started finding artifacts and things all over the place. We started digging around. What are these rectangular pits? They should not be here. What is it? So after a little bit of research, and they said, well, it's the OFC distillery. Old fire copper. That's what Taylor called his distillery, because he fermented in copper. The only living person that knew what was going on here at the time of its rediscovery was Elmer T. Lee, who was actually working for Albert Blanton. And I'm sure Elmer, sitting in his rocking chair, scratching his head, say, all this hoopla over, if you wanted to know where it was, why didn't you just ask me? I was working for Blanton when he buried it like 70 years ago. What a wonderful man. I was lucky enough to be working here when Elmer was still alive. Yeah, he's quite a man, quite a man. I'm not going to go any further right here. I'm going to turn it over to who I would say is a subject matter expert on the property. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor.
Welcome to the finest distillery the world has ever known. My name is Colonel E.H. Taylor Jr. It's the year 1886. This is the story of an old fire copper distillery, the model distillery plant of the world, where OFC whiskey is made on the banks of the Kentucky River. I began distilling here in 1869, an old distillery that was crude in appointments, unpretentious in appearance, and represents the then knowledge of the modes of whiskey manufacture. But I quickly needed to modernize, so I knocked the original building down to its foundation and built on top of it the handsomest and best structure for the purposes to be found anywhere in the country. Sadly, Mother Nature dealt a terrible blow, and my beautiful distillery was struck by lightning and destroyed by fire in 1882. Within a year, from the ashes of the gutted distillery rose the building you stand in today. It was without rival in the beauty of its design and the completeness of its appointments and the adaptiveness of every feature for the manufacture of perfect whiskey. Not a cent of expenditure was withheld, It is, of all distilleries, unquestionably the most costly in the world. Water from the limestone spring at the river's edge just below this room has made this site perfect for whiskey making since my great-great-grandfather's time. Above your heads, I built the finest mill room in Nashville. You'll be having lavish parties up there soon, of which I highly approve. You can see how industrious we all were those days. It was indeed handmade, hand-stirred, first-rate cellar mash. My pristine fermenting room gleams with copper pipes and troughs. The beer ferments in copper lined vats, which is then piped to the copper stills, creating my genuine old fire copper whiskey, OFC, aged to perfection and first class in every particular. A whiskey without rival throughout the world. George T. Stagg and I modernized whiskey making in our case. Those who followed us survived Prohibition, expanded the distillery, covered the vats in this building in concrete, started a single barrel bourbon revolution, and eventually computerized the place. And now they've been covered by long forgotten old fermenting vats. Next, they're probably going to try to make whiskey my way. Well, that's not surprising. Everything I've ever touched was of topmost class, and my distilleries were always the most complete and perfect in America.
Time for some E.H. Taylor single barrel. Remember the small batch, more than one barrel mixed together until we hit the flavor profile that we want? This is a single barrel, which we seek out and found barrels that we want them to taste like, that meets the flavor profile we're looking for. And it stands alone. So who created the single barrel E.H. Taylor? Human beings created the mash bill and the distillation process, but when it developed, it was Mother Nature who produced the flavor, one barrel at a time, hence the term single barrel. Each stands alone.
Did I see correctly on there that the narration was E.H. Taylor Jr. or somebody?
It was probably E.H. Taylor. I think her last name was Hay. Yeah. Like his great niece, something like that.
Okay.
A lot of his relatives still live in Franklin County. So swirl this around, give it a little taste. Now, E.H. Taylor was born in 1830 in western Kentucky. He was orphaned at a very, very young age, and his family sent him to New Orleans, where one of the relatives stepped up and volunteered to raise the young man. So enjoy that, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Taylor. And he spent his childhood into early adulthood in New Orleans with his uncle, twice removed, or his great uncle, we understand. And his uncle's name was Zachary Taylor. Went on to become the President of the United States, a Major General in the United States Army. And when he became a young man, he came back to Kentucky, married a woman named Frances Johnson, and they made a life here in Kentucky. And Taylor kind of got interested in making whiskey, so he goes to UK, goes to Scotland primarily, and he learned some of the traits that they used. And he said, well, we can do the same thing in Kentucky. And he kind of liked this fermenting in copper. So he bought this old distillery in 1869 for about $6,000. It was called the Glens Creek Distillery, I think. And he did okay, but everything that Taylor did was to perfection, and I'm not going to replicate the film, but he knocked that old distillery down. We know that. And he built a new one, and it was gorgeous. It looked like a castle, very European architecture, and he loved it. And sadly, as we know, 1882, struck by lightning, totally destroyed. Okay, go ahead and finish your samples, and we're going to do a couple other things and look around a little bit more, and I'll clean up a little.
Do they find that the single barrel E.H. Taylor come from a certain spot? Right.
I don't know if it came from a specific warehouse.
There's not a sweet spot where these barrels seem to come from?
I don't think so. I mean, we know how we want it to age, and we know what we're looking for. So we pick warehouses by temperature, ventilation, and things like that. So probably most of our warehouses could produce that, but we knew if it was going to be E.H. Taylor, it couldn't be too high, it couldn't be too low. So they figured it out. We've been doing this quite a long time. Figured out where they would need to put it, probably high center of the warehouse for this particular flavor profile. Okay, did you like it? Pretty good stuff, pretty good stuff. So it's bottle and bond, so what's the proof of it? That's right. Very good, very good, very good. We good? Got a garbage can, bag over there, the Buffalo Trace bag, and we're going to continue on. Anybody have any questions so far?
What's the glass and the...
These are just artifacts that they dug up and they saved. I love this brick right here because it was made by a brick company, and look at the way that they spelled Kentucky. Look at the way they spelled Kentucky.
K-A-I-N-T-U-K-C.
Exactly the way they pronounced it, my dear. Cane-tuck. Cane-tuck.
I've seen it.
Where are y'all heading? Heading west, going to Cane-tuck. Daniel Boone country. And this is some of the thick shards of glass, maybe some of the windows to let in some light. All kinds of stuff. All right, come on down. So I'm not going to repeat the movie. We know what happened. This guy wasn't suitable. Taylor knocked this one down. And the headlines, E.H. Taylor buys a distillery. It doesn't say E.H. Taylor knocked it down. So if we stand right here and look at this window, excuse me for pointing, but you can see to the left of the window, there are dates, years. They are high water marks where the water has been here. And if you look way up above the top of the window, you're going to see 2022. And if you look right up there, you can actually see the stain, and somebody put some little wave like high water mark on this support pillar right there. You see it? That's a whole lot of water. Whole lot of water. Here's the foundation wall from the 1869 distillery that we dug up. We saved it. This is the beautiful guy that Taylor built, destroyed by fire, 1882. Taylor down, not out. He rebuilds. Here's part of the foundation wall of this one. A little bit more sophisticated, poured concrete instead of just cracked limestone. And this beauty rose from the flames, history tells us, in a year or so. That's how dedicated he was. And history tells us it was the most beautiful, possibly the most expensive warehouse in the world for its size. Absolutely gorgeous. And as the headline says, Taylor spends a fortune. He did. He overspent on this venture right here. And he took on a partner, a wealthy businessman, a Kentucky son that was doing business out of St. Louis. His name was George T. Stagg. He was a Union officer from Kentucky during the Civil War, and he was on the Union side. So from a distance, that relationship worked out pretty well. But when they came together here, the close relationship just did not work. Make a long story short, Taylor was strapped for money. Stagg probably had a lot of money, and Stagg bought the distillery outright from Taylor. And Taylor moves east of here into Woodford County, goes on in to build another distillery there, and goes into bourbon history as one of the most famous distillers, and we still today call him the father of modern distillation. He lived to be a ripe old age. So Taylor and Stagg, I'm becoming a philosopher, I guess, in my old age, seeing the world a little bit different. So history tells us that they left on not so good terms. They didn't leave on good terms. So later on in life, I don't know who made the decision to try to reconcile their differences, but we do know that they came back here, went upstairs in the old Taylor house, sat down, had a couple of bourbons, maybe a fine cigar, talked about old times, what could have been, should have been, would have been. To make a long story short, they realized that maybe personally they both made some mistakes, and they decided to shake hands and wish each other well and depart as Kentucky gentlemen. And that's exactly what they did. And they call it the Great Bourbon Reconciliation. It's a good story. A lesson for all of us, maybe, huh? Okay, here we go.
So was his other place he went, is that where Castle and Key is now? Right?
That is correct.
Correct.
The distillery that Taylor built is called Castle and Key, and there's still a lot of references of Taylor
Well,
there.
it still has his name on
Oh,
it.
yeah, and the keyhole-shaped pond. Let's take a quick look at the river. What time do we start? Okay, we are in good shape. We wrap this up. We're good. We're perfect, I think. Oh, look at the family of northern Canadian geese. Do y'all hear water?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear a little of it. This, my friends, is the Kentucky River. We'll wait till everybody gets out.
Does it go past Castle and Key then too?
I don't think so.
That's
This
different.
river does
That's
not
a
go.
different
No, I
river.
don't
It's
think so.
kinda small.
It's small. Yeah, he's got some small creeks there. Probably Glenn's Creek probably runs by there where they source their water. Let me think. It's pretty close to the river, though. I'm kind of thinking in my mind's eye. It's pretty close to it. It's pretty close to the Kentucky River.
What's on the other side there?
Frankfort?
It's residential?
Yep. Well, that's just farmland, but Frankfort's over this way. The community of Bell Point is over in here. So if you lean over the rail a little bit, if you want, you're going to see some concrete work over there, and that is lock number 4. Lock number 4. And at one time, I think there were 7 or 8 locks on the Kentucky River. There are 2 that are still open, and primarily they're for recreational purposes. So basically, we can drive a houseboat to the right, open the gates, drive in there, they'll shut the gate, they'll flood the gate, and you can go on downriver. This is one of the few rivers that flow north. So from here, something big just broke water.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fisherman, I really get excited. What was that? Do you see that just caught me? Man, sorry, I lost concentration. When I see a big fish break water, I said, man, I'd love to catch fish. So from here, the river goes north, and it dumps into the Ohio River at Carrollton. And from there, it flows into the Mississippi River and on into New Orleans. So that's how they got the whiskey from here to New Orleans. They would go in together and build a flatboat, and flatboats didn't draft very deeply. And as time went on, they had to change. We already talked about that. So if you see the bubbles here created by the water from the lock, if they pushed out on a flatboat, that's how fast they would go. The speed of those bubbles. So they were hoping for some heavy rains and get the river up. You can see how low it is. And the river is just bowl-shaped. It's not very deep at all. But this is how they got their product, their bourbon whiskey, to New Orleans.
So when you say that it flooded from there all the way up here.
You are exactly correct.
And then all the way up to there.
You are exactly correct. That is a lot of water.
Yeah, because it's not like it even just, you buy the river.
Well, you can see how flat it is here.
Yeah.
And the water is going to seek its lower level. It's going to go to the lowest way. And it just went this way, and it was just a catastrophic flood. But we have them here all the time. And people ask on a fairly regular basis, will this ever happen again? Maybe not in my lifetime, but probably so. Probably so.
You never know.
Anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
We all good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's move along. What's your step? So this is a beer well. After the mash is fermented, we put it into the beer well, and then we will feed the stills. Now, Blanton built this firewall after Prohibition, after this was filled with concrete and just sealed off forever. There are 4 other fermenters that after further research, that are behind me that are still entombed in concrete. But it would be an absolute fortune to go in and dig our relatively new power plant and steam plant up, and then other boilers that are in here to create the steam to run the stills. And I have not heard of any plan to dig the other 4 up, because it would be an incredible expense. And also people ask, are we going to put more copper in the other 3 fermenters that you see? I haven't heard. I'm a very, very, very important person at Buffalo Trace, and they always consult with me before they make major decisions like that. So, yes?
Are they going to make any special barrels?
Yes, yes. The tank that has the copper in it is not just for show. Every now and then we will put mash in there, we will ferment it, and we will distill it in a little micro still, and that is what we produce our OFC bourbon. So that is the fermenter, the only fermenter will reproduce that version of Taylor product called OFC, or Old Fire Copper. And are we going to do more? I don't know.
So all of the historical OFCs, have all come out of that one?
Yes, yes. The brand OFC. The mash is fermented here in that single tank. Yeah. They only release it, 2 or 3 times a year, if that much. It's very, very rare. Very rare. Well, we'll make a sachet down through here. And you can see, folks, why Blanton wanted to keep this building. He built it, he being Taylor. I didn't know he was so big. He's a great big guy. He's huge. They called him the man of 100 suits. He loved New York tailored suits. His home was just beautiful. And he always walked around with a gentleman's walking stick. I understand he had 7, one for each day of the week. All 7 of them were topped with fine sterling silver handle up on the top. He was a very, very dapper man. Very dapper man. So you can see the walls of this thing. Like I say, it was literally built like a castle. So we're going to take a look down through here. Like I say, it's very quiet here today. We're going to look at our steam plant and some of the relics, artifacts, or whatever you want to call it, from the past that we kept here. Those of you who have another tour, what time is your next tour starting? Noon? Yeah, but we don't want to miss your tour if you got another tour here.
This is the most important thing we're doing today. You just take your time.
Okay, but I want to, for a lot of different reasons, I want to stay on time. So, yep. All right. So this is our steam plant. We coal-fired for many, many years. We're now natural gas fired, and this thing produces a tremendous amount of steam. So just kind of look back through here and look at the wall. Did you notice on the video the windows, the arched windows, how beautiful they were? We're going to see a few that survived. There's another boiler here. I'm sorry?
Do they soften the water then if they get the
No, if they soften the water, it can't be the water that we put into the bourbon, because the softener would be an additive, and that's not allowed. I'm sorry?
The white pebbles in the tank with the water?
It may be salt.
Yeah, I think it's salt.
Yeah.
This is brine, something
Yeah,
brine?
yeah. They may be that. I don't know exactly what they do with that stuff. They don't tell us everything that goes on back here. Yeah, I think it's some type of, that we can have to be very careful with the water that we use, because we have to filter it. If it's the water that goes into the bourbon to proof it, it has to go through a process called reverse osmosis and take all the chlorine, the salts, and everything out of it. So if we did put salt in the water and then we used it to put into the bourbon, it would have to go through that reverse osmosis process to get everything out of the water except the water. They were very, very particular about the type of water that we use. All right. I thought there was one of those arched windows over here. I know there's one back here. But it's a shame that some of that beautiful architecture was lost, but the distillery. Here we go. The distillery goes on. So we got some of them right. See up in the corner, that beautiful arch window. Here's one right here, and you can imagine there's another one back there. So the whole front and back of this distillery had these beautiful arch windows. Here's one here, and there's another one up at the top. Okay, here we go. Watch your step.
Automation.
I'm sorry?
The amount of work it was.
Oh, yeah,
To
yeah.
produce bourbon before you had all the automation and.
Well, it really hasn't changed that much. The automation helps get our grain from point A to point B, but the process has not changed that much. Still strikingly the same.
I have a question.
Yes.
I didn't see the arched windows. Like these?
Yes.
Or-
Well, the whole distillery was like that. And there's another one we can barely see the corner of it.
This was the front?
This was the front, yes.
River, obviously. Okay.
Where is that one? Where is the one on the corner? Yeah, and see, you got them up there. And where's you got to hit it at just a certain angle. Oh, there it is. There it is on the corner. See it right there? Oh, yeah. Right on the corner.
Oh,
there,
yeah.
the whole place, the whole front and side and back had those beautiful arched windows on there.
Sure did lose a lot of its beauty, didn't it?
It did, but I guess
it's a manufacturing
it was necessary
Yeah.
to survive.
Yeah.
So this is where the industrial part of the distillery comes in. On an average day, we bring in somewhere around 18 tractor trailers. They will back up here and they will put their load off into there. Corn, rye, wheat, malted barley, one of those 4 grains that we use, for a total of about 750,000 pounds a day. Now that grain does not evaporate into Munchkin land. We still have it suspended in spent mash, very sour now. So in 1942, the structure, the awning with the pipes coming down, not this awning, but the next one you see, that was built in 1942. That's our drying facility. So it dries the grain out, and the reason the government built it for us is the farmers, local farmers, would come around here and get a pickup truck load of grain, dried grain, and take it back to the farm. They could raise a few more cows, a few more chickens, a few more pigs, and Uncle Sam was feeding them, and it worked out very well. So when World War II was over, we were granted that dry house. We still use it today. And we now sell that grain to people that make chicken pellets and fish food and all kinds of stuff. And with our expansion, it's not big enough. So we built a new dry house beyond our vision here, much more high-tech, state-of-the-art to dry the grain. So with more production, you have more grain. And so then people said as a waste product. It's not a waste product. It's a byproduct of our process that we dry out and recycle. It's not waste. We use it. Okay? Let's head on off to Warehouse C. Now this is a still right here. It's called a pot still or a doubler. This is a pot still. Up above a little bit, there's a column still that looks like a silo. And Blanton's was 35 feet tall, 7 feet in diameter. Remember, turned out 60,000 gallons a day. Our new column still is up here, and it also produces the same amount, and it's the same size. We basically duplicated the 37-ish post-prohibition steel of Albert Blanton. Even the rock work you can see, we tried to replicate as closely as possible. The window panes, the stone insets. As a National Historic Landmark, we want to keep the facade and the look of the place the same. You can't go in and paint everything chartreuse. It just doesn't work. The government would say, no, if you do, we're going to take your status away. I've got a very important question to ask you. How many of you believe in magic? Guess what? This is very coincidental. about the 15th of September, you know who's coming to Frankfort, Kentucky to do a concert? The Lovin' Spoonfuls. Do you believe in magic? That's the group. I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll put my tie-dye t-shirt on.
Send me a picture.
Love, peace, and bourbon. That's my motto.
Send me a picture.
Okay.
Now I have that song going in my head.
Oh, you know,
that's aging
when you hear that song, you got to start tapping your foot. It's just a
yeah.
great song. All right, we have magic here at Buffalo Trace. We're going to stop right here, and we're going to focus on the mural, hand drawn. That represents the inside of a rick house or a warehouse. So from this perspective, if we had the ability to walk toward it, step into the mural, just step into it and walk down the boards through the mural, through this building, and keep going online, we would wind up directly under the water tower. Agreed? That's a perspective of the direction of the mural. And look how narrow it looks. As we walk past the mural, it will get twice, maybe 3 times wider. And instead of taking us to the water tower, it's going to go back almost 180 degrees and take us back to the mill, right before your very eyes. Okay? That's a Chicago song. Okay. I love my old tunes. So it's not doing much yet, but it's going to start in a minute. Okay, the mural's going to appear to get wider now. And now it's going to start to make a very rapid turn and go. You got a gator coming up behind us? I don't know where he's going. Now it's going to make a dramatic turn and start going back to the west. So let's watch out for the gator coming up. Let's just move right over here and freeze in place. Just come on over and let him come on through. Are you getting the illusion?
Yes.
Look at it now. Crazy. Well, guys, our last stop on the E.H. Taylor tour is going to be Warehouse C. And Taylor built this in 1885, just a year or so before he left the property for good. This was an incredible warehouse. It still is today. It's the oldest building on the property that still does exactly what it was designed to do. Now, there are other properties like the old Taylor house been repurposed time and time again, but this one does such a wonderful job of aging bourbon. Not one day since 1885 has it not been full of bourbon barrels, 24,000 of them, matter of fact. So this is a safety issue, very important. If you're any taller than I am, do not walk down the middle of the boards, because if you do, you're going to hit a sprinkler head, okay? So if you're tall, stay left or right of center and you'll be fine.
Check. Yeah, you're good.
It's going to smell good in here.
Oh, baby.
Man, does it smell good, huh?
Remember, down the middle is danger.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice.
Okay.
Oh, dude.
Isn't this neat?
Oh, this should be an Airbnb. We can sleep here.
See how it's getting cooler in here?
Oh, yes, sir.
Now there's a cross beam here. When we get to the middle, there's a beam that's even lower than the sprinklers. So really be careful here, tall folks, and we're going to hang a left right here. We're going to go down and taste some E.H. Taylor barrel proof. Very hard to find.
Yes, that's definitely on my list. I can't find it.
I know where there's something now.
So if everybody would get them a cup.
Thank you.
It's kind of tight quarters, but we're going to make this work.
Smells like magic.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I love these boxes too.
That's exactly the way Taylor boxed it up and sent them out of here. And like I say, everything he did was just incredible. That's why he spent so much money.
They sell their boxes.
A couple years ago they had them. Yeah. They had them last year.
E.H. Let me get right over here. I'll get out of the way. It's gonna make it. E.H. Taylor barrel proof. Let's see what the proof is on this guy. I'll get my glasses. I guess somebody got good eyes. I had to put my glasses on.
It's 127.2.
127 proof. Out of the barrel, non-chill filtered. So most bourbons, we get it cold, we send it through filters to get even the minute particles out. On a barrel-proof bourbon, it's not unusual at all to see some tiny little flecks of char in it. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just not thick, been filtered. So a lot of people think that, well, excuse me, I got to put my glasses on. I may accidentally give you a whole cup.
Hey, I'll hold your glass.
Let me hold that for you.
You hold my glass.
Oh, I stepped on your glasses, Jimmy.
At least they weren't on your head.
Guess what? I got another pair in my pocket. This ain't my first rodeo.
You start pouring and grab it from the pocket.
So you only
I
got
know about guys like you.
two. You see one, I get one, we're all good.
Thank you.
Now swirl this around and hold it up to the light. And being as it's not chill filtered, some of the corn oil survived. And you may see little legs kind of clinging to the plastic. It's very thick. A lot of times people think a barrel-proof bourbon drinks easier than one that is not chill filtered, and that may be because of the thickness and the viscosity of the residual corn oil that's inside. All right. Does it seem smoother? It's 29 proof, almost 15% more alcohol. But what makes it so smooth and silky is the corn oil that stays inside.
Yeah, you can. It's a thicker.
It is. It's just very thick, just very viscous. So this is Warehouse C. And it's an incredible warehouse. It survived a tornado hit in 2006, I think March 2nd, 2006, April 2nd, 2006. And it hit this side of the warehouse, and the walls of Jericho come tumbling. I'm kind of in a spot where I hate to not be able to make eye contact with you. It seems rude, and I don't like to do it. So anyway, we had a lot of barrels that were exposed to wind, rain, sunlight, all kinds of natural situations. And we didn't know what exactly we were going to do with the bourbon, but it was tested several times to make sure there wasn't anything wrong with it. And the fact of the matter is, there was nothing wrong with it, and it was very, very fine bourbon. And they bottled it up, a special release, a small batch. They called it Colonel E.H. Taylor Tornado Surviving Bourbon Whiskey. Brilliant marketing. And people say, that's the biggest bunch of nonsense I ever heard in my life. Have anybody ever heard of E.H. Taylor Tornado? It's not nonsense. It's true. I told you I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't tell you anything that I didn't think was true anyway, or know was true. That's ask a question. I don't know. Is it possible? Anything's possible. But I'm sure the chemist and everybody would have to do a lot of research to make sure nothing happened. So this is excuse me. Okay, we're good. So what we have to do is to find a place in the warehouse that's most conducive for the brand that we're looking for. So this is kind of a generalization. You notice it's cooler down here, and the floor is dirt. It's not concrete. So that means that this warehouse is going to have a little bit more moisture in it, down low at the bottom. And if we're going to age a bourbon for a long, long period of time, we will probably put it down here, because the loss to the angel share or evaporation is less, simply because it doesn't get as hot here. This is very much like the basement of your house that you don't have heating and cooling in. In the wintertime, it's going to be warm relatively. In the summertime, it's going to be cool relatively, because that's just the way nature works, okay? So down here, we're going to put our older brands, our 12, 15, 20, 23-year-old brands, because the loss is as minimal as we can get it to be. So these barrels that you have green ink right here, it says Weller on it. But guess what it could also be someday? a Van Winkle. So the lower, the slower, the higher the probability it will be one of those older Wellers or one of the Van Winkle brands. As we go higher, just as the basement of your house, if you don't have your air conditioning, it's not working, it's cool in the basement, but the HVAC person says, can't get you back online for about 10 days till the compressor comes in. So if you go into the kitchen, it's going to be hot in the kitchen. And then if you go to the attic for whatever reason, you're going to change your mind as soon as you pop your head up there because it's like an oven. Same things going on in here, not as drastic. So down here, older bourbons in the center, those 7, 8, 9-year-old, the E.H. Taylors in the high centers where that's probably produced and aged. And the younger bourbons will be at the top. Not that they're bad bourbons, they're different, they're young. Not everybody likes cheese with mold in it. I do. I love the Fettas, the blue cheese, the Rofords, but not everybody does. So the age of the bourbon does not indicate that it's a superior bourbon. It's whatever you like makes it a superior bourbon. It's just like fast food coffee, whatever. You may like one and may like the other. It's because the one you like, you may go and buy your meat at a certain store in the town that you live because you think it's just aged better. There's no perfect bourbon or no perfect cut of meat for anyone. As long as it puts a smile on your face, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. We do not generally rotate barrels from one location to the other because each level has its own personality and will put different twists on the bourbon itself. A very old bourbon may be oakier, smokier, woodier, drier. When at the middle may not be the same. So we do not rotate them because if we do, we take them out of the element that made that bourbon what it is. And it establishes what we call a trademark of flavor. And if you start changing the flavor profile, you're going to start losing customers that love Eagle Rare, but they say it's different now. You know, they age it really up high, and it's not the Eagle Rare of old. So we're very, very conscious of not to try to mess with the flavor profile of our brands. Anybody have any questions?
The chalk marks, the 9, the 10, the 11s on the barrels, what are they signifying?
I do not know. The warehouse manager does that. Maybe the date, the month, maybe they're going to pull it for bottling. I don't know. Like I say, there's a whole lot. I'm kind of a bottom feeder here. You know, I give you the basic information, but the particulars of things that go on in the warehouse and stuff, I'm an honest person. I don't know. That's the best I got. I could come up with all kinds of nonsense. And you say, oh man, that old guy answered every question. He knew everything. But that's not me. I don't do that.
No, that's great, because then we can ask and find out later. And
And I'll pass it on. We're going to work our way back out. We're going to wrap this Taylor tour up. Do y'all like the movement and the tasting at different stations? The environment's different.
I love that.
I think it's pretty cool. Instead of one big room. Now, when you leave, this mark right here is one of the guests that did not listen to tour guide Jimmy, and I said, watch out. I call this, affectionately, I call that Wilson. Remember the soccer ball? Wilson! Okay. Next time you'll get a relatively sane tour guide, okay? Somebody stable.
You worked here?
I'm sorry?
How long have you been?
About 10 years.
10 years.
10, 11 years.
What made you decide to, you were in the Navy before that?
No, I was in the military.
Military, okay.
And I knew what happened to my contemporaries. And after I got out of the Army, I was a Kentucky State Trooper for 30 years. And I knew what happened to guys like me, that's wired like me. If you go home and sit down and drink bourbon all day long, they didn't last very long. So I had to make myself just say, get up and stay active, keep your mind moving, keep your body moving.
So now you walk around and drink bourbon.
Yes, I do. I got a great big yard, and I walk around. I got a pond too, and I walk around and fish. Yeah, I get in about 4 or 5 miles a day here.
That's
all right.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to bid you adieu. You got time to catch your next tour. Hope you enjoyed the tour. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
It's been great.
Come back. Come back.
Really
I hope I wasn't too pushy.
Thank you so much.
But we got what we needed to do, and we stayed on time, and that's my job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.